Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Yes, there may be two sun gods in one piece, the duality of Nika, and I'm going to reveal it in today's video. If there are two sun gods, then everything we know about Nika and his legend might only be half of the story. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. The sun is the greatest force in our system, and in many mythologies, it is not just a singular entity, but a duality, with one side representing creation and the other destruction. If One Piece truly follows this path, then maybe Luffy and Blackbeard are not just ideological opposites, but representations of something much greater, something that has always existed and is now returning to manifest itself. In Incan mythology, Inti is the sun god, but he is not alone. He is always linked to Mama Quila, the moon goddess. Together, they form a cycle, representing the world's duality, the balance between day and night. But what if within this concept, the sun itself also has its own duality? The sun can be a source of life, but it can also burn and destroy. It can provide warmth, but it can also dry the land and turn everything into a desert. If the world of One Piece is presenting us with a second sun god, then this second entity would not be a complement to Nika, but rather the manifestation of his other side one that brings not freedom, but absolute anarchy, not joy, but chaos. And who in One Piece fits this description perfectly? Marshall D. Teach. Since Blackbeard's introduction, he has always been a character who defies all logic. He can wield two devil fruits at the same time, something that should be impossible. He experiences pain differently. He never sleeps. He is an anomaly. But more than anything, he is the perfect opposite of Luffy, not just in personality, but in destiny. If we analyze how Teach acts and how his presence impacts the world, we can see that he doesn't just challenge the rules, he completely destroys them. While Luffy brings freedom and laughter, Teach brings destruction and chaos. While Luffy gathers people who willingly follow him, Teach manipulates and attracts those who seek something in return. While Luffy awakens a fruit that makes people laugh, Teach has a fruit that engulfs everything in darkness. But what if this isn't just a coincidence? What if just as Nika is the sun god of freedom and joy, Teach is the sun god of destruction and anarchy? Norse mythology offers an interesting concept for this. In mythology, the sun and the moon are chased by wolves, and during Ragnarok, the wolves finally catch them, bringing about the end of the world. But what if within this symbolism, Teach is the wolf that hunts Luffy? Or worse, what if he is another sun, one that doesn't shine to illuminate, but to consume everything around it? In chapter 576, Whitebeard states that Teach is not the one Roger was waiting for. This is important because it means Teach may hold great significance in the world, but he is not the heir to Joy Boy's will. If Teach also has a connection to the sun, then perhaps it is the other side of the coin. In chapter 1044, when the Gorosei reveal that the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, it becomes clear that Nika is not just any legend. He was real, someone who existed and left his mark on the world. But what if, during the Void Century, Nika wasn't alone? The sun can shine in two ways. It can illuminate, or it can blind. If Nika was the side that brought light, perhaps there was another that burned. The first world described in the text I mentioned speaks of a sun god who appeared when the unjustly imprisoned prayed. But it also mentions that an earth deity raged alongside the serpent of hellfire, engulfing the world in darkness. And in the third world, he returns dancing and laughing, bringing the end of the world. What if this sun god who appears dancing and laughing isn't just Luffy? What if Teach is also part of this cycle? In chapter 925, Teach tells Moria that Whitebeard's era is over, and that now it's his era. And what if this era isn't just about a simple pirate seeking power, but rather the manifestation of this second sun god, the sun of destruction, the sun that doesn't bring freedom, but collapse. Teach's fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi, is called the fruit of darkness. But its ability is completely different from what we might expect. It doesn't just cover everything in darkness, it swallows everything around it. It's almost like a black hole, but at the same time, it doesn't follow the normal rules of physics. And then, when Teach steals the Gura Gura no Mi, he gains not only the power to consume everything, but also the power to destroy everything around him. If Teach is truly the other sun god, this would explain why he is the only one who can use two fruits. He's not just any user, he's an exception to the world's rules. And maybe that's why he's the greatest threat to the world government. In chapter 1080, Teach shows that his ambition isn't just to become the Pirate King. He wants to rewrite the rules of the world. He wants territories, power, and influence. But he also wants to do everything his way. This is very different from Luffy, who doesn't care about these concepts and just wants to be free. And then we return to the concept of duality. If Luffy is a sun god who brings freedom and joy, Teach is a sun god who brings chaos and destruction. And this brings us to the Ragnarok of One Piece. If the world is truly heading toward a Ragnarok, then Luffy and Teach are not just rivals. They are two forces that must face each other for this cycle to be completed. The destruction of one means the triumph of the other. The world of One Piece was shaped by a cataclysmic event in the past, and now we're arriving at the moment when all of this must be resolved. And maybe that's why Imu-sama has always allowed Luffy to advance. If there are two sun gods, then maybe one needs to be the catalyst to awaken the other. Teach and Luffy are not just rivals. They are two sides of the same entity. One wants to create, the other wants to consume. And when they finally meet, maybe the world will see the true meaning of the prophecy of Nika. The sun will return, and then a new morning will come. But if Teach really is this second sun god, what does that mean for the world? And more importantly, what does it mean for the final battle that will inevitably happen between him and Luffy? In chapter 1080, we see Teach using his darkness in a way that reinforces the idea that he's not just an ordinary man with a powerful Akuma no Mi. He sucks everything around him, distorting the very structure of the world as if he's removing the existence of things. And if Luffy represents a sun that illuminates, bringing joy and freedom, then Teach represents a sun that burns everything around it until nothing remains. An eternal cycle between two extremes. And what happens when these two extremes finally clash? Perhaps the answer lies in the Ragnarok prophecy itself. In the text mentioned, we see that the first world was consumed by chaos when the sun god appeared. He was not only a savior, he was also the catalyst for destruction. The earth deity and the flame serpent of hell didn't meet by chance. They were drawn to the appearance of the sun god, and if this is a reflection of what is happening now, Luffy awakened Nika. He became what the world both feared and expected at the same time. But now, in the same time period, Teach is also moving, accumulating territories, defeating enemies, and advancing toward his own destiny, as if the rise of one is directly linked to the rise of the other, as if this cycle had happened before. The second world speaks of the sea deity enraging, and who in the world of One Piece controls the sea like no other entity? Imu-sama. If Teach is the force of destruction, then perhaps Imu is the force trying to contain this cycle. But that doesn't mean Imu is a hero. On the contrary, maybe it's precisely this attempt at absolute control that caused the cycle to be interrupted before, preventing the true Ragnarok from happening. In the third world, the text tells us that the sun god dances and laughs, leading the world to its end. But then he returns and a new morning comes. This means that the end of the world is not a definitive end. It's just the transition to something new. And if this is the true purpose of One Piece's Ragnarok, and if the final battle between Luffy and Teach isn't just about the title of Pirate King, but about who will be the one to bring the next era, this would explain why Teach is the only person in the world who can use two Akuma no Mi, because he is not simply breaking rules. He is the exception to the rules. He is a being that represents something greater than an ordinary human. If Luffy is the sun god who brings laughter, Teach is the sun god who brings the end. And this leads us to something very important. The sun god of Elbaf is known as the one who will destroy the world. If Luffy is this sun god, then maybe the destruction he will bring isn't literal. Maybe he is the force that will destroy the chains of the world, that will free everyone from the bonds of oppression. But if there are two sun gods, then perhaps Teach is the one who will bring destruction in a completely different way. While Luffy wants to destroy the chains, Teach wants to destroy everything. What do you think about this? Comment. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.